Now this is the beautiful Tithonia diversifolia, Mexican sunflower, Bolivian sunflower, tree marigold, and many other names. And I'm Elise, and I'm glad you stopped by. Let me share with you this great plant. Now, I am a new channel. If you can help me grow, I would really appreciate it by liking, sharing, subscribing, watching the video completely, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. But isn't this gorgeous? Now, these are really tall and lanky this year. They usually don't get this tall and lanky, but we've been extremely dry and extremely hot here in Zone 9B. So it seems that they just grew up without putting out this much foliage. Plus, we've been using a lots of the foliage also. Let me get a little closer here. I love this plant. The neighbors always comment about how beautiful it was, and you know, they look forward to it every year when it's in bloom. Okay, first, growing. Full sun. Now, it will grow in a little shade, but if you really want it to bloom pretty, full sun. Tropical plant. It will freeze back. Usually, though, it's going to come back from the roots in zones 9, maybe warm 8. One really nice thing about it, if you don't live in those planting zones, you can always plant it as an annual. You can even plant it in containers and overwinter them. You may not get all the flowers, but you'll get all the great foliage for that wonderful use. And let me share with you why we started planting this plant in the beginning. Years ago, I was looking online trying to find a free or cheap alternative for a fertilizer for my garden. I didn't want to use chemicals. Now, I had been using the green biomass tea, you know, where you put weeds and plants and stuff in a bucket of water and you ferment it until it smells like pond scum and yuck. Well, I really didn't want to do that anymore. So I was looking and looking, and I found this article where they were talking about Tithonia diversifolia. It has more NPK than cow manure. And they were encouraging farmers in some developing countries to plant it around their fields and then plow it in. I thought, okay, I know where I can get a cutting from that. So I got a cutting, I started cuttings, and the rest, as they say, is history. This is primarily all we use to fertilize our garden. It is so easy. It's free. You know, we don't let it get to the pond scum stage. We let it sit to the light chlorophyll stage. Now, if I forget and leave it, we still use it. And I'm going to be making some soon, so I'll share that with you when I make some more. That's why I started growing it. But it's a beautiful ornamental. Easy to grow, very hardy. It will freeze. And it will get lanky, but you don't have to let it do that. You can prune it back a couple of times a year. You prune other flowers and plants back. So you prune this one back too. Easy. Most of the time you can just absolutely take your hand and break the limbs off. Now inside the larger pieces, you will need a pair of heavy clippers or maybe even a saw. All right, let me share some of the uses. Besides being a beautiful ornamental plant, it attracts pollinators. Look at the size. And it does have a scent to it, really nice. Bees, butterflies, even an occasional hummingbird, they love this plant. Besides the fertilizer, it helps to restore your soil. It's a soil remediator. It sets a nitrogen. They plant it in areas where they have poor soil. Chop and drop. Mulch. It breaks down really, really fast. So if you're using these leaves as chop and drop or mulch, they're going to break down and feed your soil or your plant really fast. We use it both to make the liquid fertilizer and we use it as chop and drop. So if we plant something in containers, we'll mulch it heavy with these leaves. Fences. Privacy fences, hedges. If you keep it cut off, it's going to flush out and put out all this beautiful greenery. Use the wood for kindling, firewood. The bigger pieces you can use to make lightweight furniture like veneers, but you can make trellises. Feed your animals. Fodder for your ruminant animals, cows, sheep, goats, camels. Well, I don't have a camel, but if one ever stopped by, I would know what to feed it. Now, there are some medicinal uses if you want to look into that, and there are some edible uses if you want to look into that. I grow it because it has more NPK than cow manure, and I use it as a green biomass tea and for chop and drop. Isn't that neat? And of course for its beauty and that it attracts pollinators. So this year we'll probably wait until after winter and early spring. Come out here, coppice this whole thing down, clean all the weeds out, and what it will do is going to flush back out with all this pretty growth. We don't save the stems, but what we do is we save the young green stems and of course the foliage. You can even use the flowers, the flower buds, and the seeds in the biomass green tea. And it's just absolutely gorgeous when it's all in bloom like this. Medium water. Of course, the more water you give it, the more it's going to respond. And this is kind of way out at the end of the property. It doesn't get watered as much as the rest of the landscape. But that's okay. It's still doing fantastic. We get plenty of greenery off of it. I do have other patches of this around the landscape. Again, if you don't live in a planting zone that will support it to grow it in the yard, then go ahead and put it in some big containers. You'll get the foliage to use for chop and drop and to make your biomass teas. Good for the land, good for the animals, good for us. Hey, that's a win-win situation, isn't it? So let me think, did I share everything with you? Propagation is cuttings is the easiest, and that's why some folks don't like it. If one of these long branches fell over, it could possibly root into the ground. But if you have even minimal maintenance in your landscape, you have no problem with it. Plus, I want mine to reproduce. We deliberately reproduce it. So, cuttings is the best way. And I'm going to do some cuttings soon for a friend. I'll make a video of that and share with you how easy it is to do the cuttings, make the green biomass tea. It does set seeds. The seeds are extremely hard. They look kind of like a big, hard, tough marigold. They are dormant, so you have to break the dormancy to get them to germinate. I haven't been too successful, and I do know that the seeds work because every so often I find these plants popping up where the birds or something spread the seeds. But I have a couple ideas in mind. I'll let you know if they work, about how to break that dormancy a little better. That's it. Come and join me on the other videos. And until then, have a fantastic day.